Welcome to Daily Life Connection. Thanks for joining again today. Today, let's talk about God the Truth Teller. God the Truth Teller. In John chapter 1, we read this wonderful verse that I'm sure all of us are familiar with. In verse 16 and 17, from his fullness, Jesus, we have all received grace upon grace. The law was indeed given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Grace and truth came from him. I want to focus on that word truth today. God the truth teller. In Jesus, God told us the truth. So often, it seems in churches that we tend to think of grace and truth being opposite sides of the coin. That grace is about the kindness and the favor of God and His acceptance of us and His blessings on us. But He's also a God of truth. And what we mean by that is, but the truth is the bad news. Grace is the good news. Truth is the bad news. It's about everything that's wrong with us. God doesn't turn a blind eye to sin. He tells the truth about it. Why do we think that the truth that Jesus came to tell us is this bad news, this harshness, this damper on grace? It's almost like we think that verse says, grace came through Jesus Christ, but the truth took care of that. Why do we want to think that the truth that Jesus came to tell us is bad news? No, let me just focus here for a second and talk about the grace that Jesus came to bring to us. The grace and the truth. The truth being, Jesus told the truth about who his Father was. I think that's what this verse is talking about. He came and told us the truth. It's contrasting the law with the truth that Jesus came. Oftentimes, it seems to me, in the church, we really are saying, and through Jesus came grace and the new law. But that's not what it's talking about. It's saying to us, the truth that Jesus came to bring is tied to grace. It's grace and truth. And the truth about grace. That's what Jesus came to tell us about. And there's just so many things that Jesus came to tell us. He came and said, you are loved as you are. The old law basically said God will love you and favor you. He'll give you grace if you perform well enough, if you measure up to the standards. And then, of course, Jesus told us the truth about that, didn't he? In the Sermon on the Mount. He said, if your righteousness doesn't exceed that of the Pharisees, if you aren't better at this, living out the law and living out righteous actions than the Pharisees are, than the ones who try the very hardest, if you don't get better than that, you can't get in the kingdom. That's the truth Jesus came to tell us. He said there's got to be a better way, and I'm the better way, Jesus was saying. You see, it's the good news about grace, the truth about grace. He says to us, I want you to know that you are included. Just by the way that Jesus dealt with sinners. I mean, look at Luke 15 again. The riffraff, the sinners, the irreligious people were gathering to Jesus. By the very fact that they would do that, tells us that the truth Jesus was telling was not, you're a bunch of sinners and what you're doing is wrong and you need to understand and God's going to be angry about that and judgment's coming on you for that. And that is not the truth Jesus came to bring. That's truth based on the old law. Jesus said, I want you to know you are accepted as is. As is. The prodigal son come as a wretched loser, stinking to the high heavens, failed in everything. I love you even like that. That's the truth that Jesus came to tell us. He came and said, I want you to know that light shines in the darkness. My light is going to get inside your deepest darkness and shine there and reveal who I am and reveal who my Father is. Well, I could get excited about this. The truth that Jesus came to bring is such incredibly good news for us. He said, I want you to know you are not separated from God. You are not separated from God unless you choose to be. He has reconciled you to himself. He's brought you close. The only way you're separated is if you're holding him off and separating yourself. Jesus said, that's truth that you need. See, the truth that Jesus came was truth that sets us free. Not truth that puts us down and makes us feel guilty and shamed and failure. And that's not the truth that Jesus came. I'm passionate about this because I just think it is such a disservice to Jesus to imply that the truth he came to bring is to tell people that they're wrong and castigate them for their sins and tell them they're going under judgment, and just that kind of truth. All it does is make people want to say, the heck with you guys. That's not what happened with Jesus. The truth Jesus told people came and said, tell us more. Tell us more. This is really good news. Jesus said, I want you to know my Father's not angry with you. I want you to know you don't have to perform perfectly in order to be in with me, in order to enjoy my presence and be included with the Father and the Spirit and I. Jesus came. Grace and truth came from Jesus. And the truth about the truth that Jesus truthed to us is it's really good news. Grace is amazing good news, and the truth Jesus came to tell us. I mean, just go through the New Testament, go through the Gospels, and look at the truth that Jesus came to say and came to bring to people. Whether it's the lady at the well of Samaria, he says, I'll give you living water. I'll give you living water. He was telling her the truth. I'm the one that can bring you living water. And on and on and on. Jesus goes to the temple and sees a sinner and a tax collector sinner and a really religious person. And he says the humility of that tax collector, that's good news. Tax collectors can get into the kingdom of heaven. In fact, Jesus said, and this is the truth, he said prostitutes and tax collectors are getting into the kingdom ahead of those religious conservatives that try really, really hard to be good. That's the truth Jesus came to tell us. And it's good news. Well, I could just go on and on about this because I think it's so important that we never see the truth as being the bad news and grace being the good news. Grace is good news, and the truth that Jesus came to tell us is good news as well. Well, I encourage you to think about that today, and we'll talk again tomorrow.